Hello, everyone. This is NPR's Top 100 Science Fiction and Fantasy Books list. Now, full disclosure, uh, this is actually the one I'm going to read from is from August 11th of 2000 and I'm sorry, August 7th of 2011. So, but it's actually not outdated because I looked for a more updated version, but it's on Ranker. So I'm sitting there trying to scroll through Ranker's list to look to compare them, and I did make it through, but I had to make it through because their website sucks. This ad there, and I kept getting stuck scrolling. And on a list that says 100 books, it only got down to 93. And I looked and looked and looked. There's nothing beyond it. So I don't know what happened there. So we're going to use the old one because it looked like all the contents are accurate, but they're in maybe different places throughout. But for the most part, everything looked like it was exactly the same. Number one, of course, The Lord of the Rings. My experience with that is a little odd, as I found those animated versions as a young child, didn't know they were books. Certainly discovered that they were books, but I wasn't that kind of reader then. I'm talking 80s as a kid, or it was Choose Your Own Adventures and comic books. But I did see the Pete Jackson movies eventually and just loved them. And just a few years ago decided I'm going to read these books. And they are extremely good. The only problem was, since the story was well known to me by then, it didn't hit me as much as maybe it would have if I'd tried to read them as a younger person. So I'm not going to argue with anyone who calls Lord of the Rings the greatest sci-fi or fantasy book series of all time. It's just not my personal favorite. Hit number two, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Of course, I got a collected version. Got the painted edges. I love it. And I think it has one of the most wonderful scenes, the flying scene between him and his the woman he was in love with. I thought it was beautiful. Ender's Game, I never read it. Dune Chronicles. So number four is Dune. Dune, you always have to explain to someone who hasn't read them, when you read that first book, those first 100 pages, you got to concentrate because it's not casual reading, is it? And then after that, you've got it, and it just flows right along. It really does belong up there among the greatest things of all time. I have read up to everything that Frank Herbert wrote. I have not gone beyond that to the other authors, but eventually I might just give them a try to see what the story was supposed to be further. Because when it ends with where Herbert left off, good guys are on the run, bad guys kind of winning everything. Number five, A Song of Ice and Fire, George R.R. Martin. So I never read the books. I loved the TV show. I have no intention of ever reading the books, and one big reason is because there were people just complained up a storm that I can't believe they changed this from the books, and I can't believe they changed that. Well, I have no intention of possibly ruining this wonderful TV show that I adored. So I'm not that interested. Besides, it's like looks like he's not really interested in finishing the series anyway. That was number five. 1984, George Orwell. Did not read that, but I have seen that one movie, which just, oh boy, that's a shocker. Fahrenheit 451, did not read. The Foundation trilogy, Isaac Asimov, at number 8. So I read out of order. It's called Foundation and Earth. I don't know if it's the last one, but it's a later one. I actually really liked it. Years go by, and it's like, well, here's Prelude to Foundation. Let me read that first, because it was written after the original Foundation. And I thought, oh, that was really good too. Some years go by. Let me finally read Foundation. Ooh, it was bad. It was boring. It did not hold up at all. There's all kinds of old stuff that holds up. Frankenstein holds up, and that's over a century old. But Foundation did not work. And I haven't read more since. I have read a lot of Asimov's his nonfiction, and learned quite a bit there, adding to my knowledge base. But that's the one, and I just, no thanks. Brave New World, no. American Gods, no. The Princess Bride, did not read. Of course, loved the movie like everybody else. Wheel of Time series at number 12 by Robert Jordan. All I've ever heard, I like, so like for example, Daniel Green, booktuber. It's his favorite fantasy series of all time. But even from people who love it, they always say there's some really long-winded and tedious portions to these things. 15 books, and Brandon Sanderson had to finish it off. I'm not exactly a Sanderson fan. I just have no interest in reading that series. Going on, Animal Farm, Neuromancer at 14. Neuromancer being the cyberpunk book, its two sequels are, I think, underrated, but not loved by everybody. This is supposed to be, there's a comic book on here, Watchmen. Okay, well, the rest of this is novels, so I don't know what it's doing on there, but if I had to recommend a couple of comic series, I looked on the 2025 list, the more updated one, as difficult as it was. Saga is not on either of these lists, the older one or the updated one. That's a crime to humanity. So Saga, I would recommend to anyone in comics, even if you're not into comics. Saga and Watchmen. Number 16, I, Robot by Isaac Asimov. So I did not read the original novels. What I read was it was a screenplay treatment done by Harlan Ellison, which was outstanding. Oh, they could have made that a movie. It would have been amazing. They did make a movie of it, starring Will Smith, which actually was a pretty good movie. I thought it odd that when they put the book on the shelves again with Will Smith on the cover, they didn't do a novelization of the movie. It was the actual Isaac Asimov book, but with Will Smith on the cover. No. But I actually, I'm not a Will Smith fan, but he did really good in it. And of course, Sonny the Robot was outstanding in it. So, Stranger in a Strange Land, no. The Kingkiller Chronicles by Patrick Rothfuss, at 18th. I love these books. I've only read through each of them once. Waiting like everybody else for that third one. Waiting with some patience, at least. I think I've mentioned to people that I've read the second book. I read it in a day. It's 1,100 pages. And I thought about it, and it's like, that can't be true. It's impossible for me. I can't read that fast. Even it's waiting, spending 16 hours trying to read it, I don't read that fast. There's no way. So I think my memory just failed me. I must have started it the previous day and got well into it and then finished it off the next day. So like a day and a half or something, I got through it. I couldn't put that book down. I loved it. Slaughterhouse-Five, no. Here we are, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein at 20. Read that last year for the first time and was shocked at how good it was. The prose in it are wonderful. Which I noticed something that's not on this list. Moby Dick is not on this list. Doesn't deserve to be on this list. I read that thinking, I'm going to finally find out this thing that Star Trek uses all the time and has been used as this symbol of obsession. And the book just blew. That book is not about his obsession over that white whale. He's just in it in the beginning, a little bit at the end. That's it. The rest of the book is just typewriter vomit. But right after that, I read Frankenstein. Beautiful book, wonderful book. Read that book. Speaking of downers, number 21, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Of course I've seen Blade Runner. Saw Blade Runner many times before I decided to give the book a go that it is based on. And I'm like, what? It must be a testament to the genius of brain fart in here. His name that made the Blade Runner movie. That's horrible. But whatever. That he could make a movie based off such a boring ass book. It's just I was looking for further insights into replicants as being more human than human. There's just nothing. There's this huge portion of this book where this dude's just haggling over a sheep. Why do people like that book? I don't get it. Next, Handmaid's Tale, nope. Dark Tower series. I always wanted to give that a go, but Stephen King's a bit of a long-winded writer. It's like, ugh, that dude needs an editor. So does Sanderson. 24, 2001, A Space Odyssey, written at the same time that they were making the movie. It's a little bit different. I always recommend watch the movie first for its mystery. The book just gives you the explanation, but the mystery of the film is better to watch if you've never had anything to do with 2001. Both book and film 2010 are underrated sequels, and I actually like the entire book series of the Odyssey series. Speaking of Stephen King, one of the books I have read, The Stand. I actually really liked it. Someone let me use it. I never owned it. I read it when it was 900 pages. And the story goes that someone actually did edit the book and say, you got to take these pages out. This is just too long as it is. And they did so. And then I read that all those were getting added back in for another edition. I'm like, he didn't need the first 900. He didn't need 300 more. Editors are editors for a reason. Maybe they're too afraid. That's my theory. Oh, we can't touch Sanderson or King. They're too big. They'll just fire us. Oh yeah, good job. Every word. Go ahead. Number 26, Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson. So if not for Neuromancer, this would be the cyberpunk book, and I actually like it better than Neuromancer. It's just way too much fun, and it's fast. It just chugs right along. Great VR stuff. Great plugging into a web stuff. Great having this intellectual conversation, this lesson from his VR companion that's not sentient, but talks like it is, and gives him a lesson on how a civilization is run and how they use the messaging to try to control the world today. Brilliant book. Martian Chronicles, never read. Cat's Cradle, never read. Sandman series, another comic series by Neil Gaiman. Yeah, it's awesome. I love the TV show too. Clockwork Orange, never read. Great movie. Starship Troopers. I don't remember a lot of details. The book's very good as I recall. The film, when I tell people I thought it sucked. It sucked, or you just didn't get it. I got it. It's just, ugh. I mean, I like things about it, but just the movie as a whole, I just didn't do nothing for me. Number 32, Watership Down. So never read the book, but again, here I am as a little kid. I see this show is about to come on about bunnies. Ooh, yay! I sat down to read it as a little child, and oh my God, this horror movie. Good Christ! I assume a lot of other children went through that terrible trauma. I'd like to watch it again as an adult. Dragonflight by Anne McCaffrey. Nope. Moon is a Harsh Mistress. I have not read. The Canticle for Leibowitz. The Time Machine. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Flowers for Algernon. Haven't read or seen any of that. The Disney film I think I saw. Flowers for Algernon. I don't think I've read that. The War of the Worlds. I have not read the original book. I, of course, seen the 1950s movies many times. The Tom Cruise one was actually really good, too. And if you've never heard the actual original radio drama, oh, it's beautiful. That's a great thing to listen to. The Chronicles of Amber by Zelazny. I started it, and it's decent, but it didn't hold me. I didn't keep up on it. Something called The Belgariad by David Eddings. Don't know what that is. The Mists of Avalon. This is one of those, I guess it's love the art but not the artist, because I've never read it. I don't intend to. People love this, but the author and her husband apparently physically, and I'm not sure sexually, but they abuse their children, like horrifically. And so it's kind of hard to want to get up the motivation to read that. The Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson. I'm going to give Sanderson this. This dude knows how to make good characters. He puts together a great sentence. It's a good world builder. It's all there. In the case of Mistborn, I got to this coin jumping magic thing. I drop a coin and I leap way into the air. I just it did nothing for me, and I didn't finish it. And I went on to Stormlight. Dude, too long-winded, just droning on and on and on and on and on. So unfortunately, again, dude needs an editor that he'll listen to. Number 44, Ringworld. I have more books by Larry Niven than any other author, although I think it's 11 or 12 of them are what's called the Manzin War series, and that's an anthology series, so other authors have contributed. The first book I read by his was Protector, which I love. I called it my favorite book ever at one point. Didn't know anything about Known Space and Ringworld, and it takes place in the same universe. I highly recommend that you read Protector first. It just happens that I experienced it a correct way. Read Protector first, you can jump right into Ringworld, and you're doing fine. Left Hand of Darkness, Silmarillion, yes. Down here at 46 instead of way up there. I did it, I read it. It's interesting, but that's a little tough to read. That's the Bible of the Lord of the Rings, and it's a little tough to get through. But I'm glad I did it. Once and Future King, Neverwhere, Childhood's End. So Arthur C. Clarke, just maybe the greatest of all time. But Childhood's End, I heard so much about how great it was, and I did not like that book at all. I think it's either be made into a movie or a streaming series, so maybe I'll enjoy that, but did not like these books, that book in particular. And I did not read Contact by Carl Sagan at number 50. Love that movie though. 51, The Hyperion Cantos by Dan Simmons. Great first book. I get it. The second book was just a slog, a bad slog too. I pushed through it because it has a high quality to it. It took so long. But I think the first book, that's a good read. Stardust, no, Cryptonomicon by Neil Stevenson. So this is that book was just too dense for me. It's high quality again, but just I can't even call it slow or over. Well, maybe it is overwritten, and that's the point. It is too much, and I think like a third of the way through, I'm like, good Christ, it's just too. It like I don't know how to explain it. It's just it was like, let me sit here and dwell on this idea for 100 pages or something. It just is like a minutia. The writing itself was just filled with this minutia, and I just couldn't deal with it. Well beloved by many though. World War Z, Last Unicorn, nope. The Forever War by Joe Haldeman. He's a really good writer, but unfortunately, the Forever War itself, I was kind of bummed, a little overrated, I think. There's a great book he wrote called Camouflage. I would recommend to anyone. Small Gods, I don't believe I read. Here we go, 58. The Chronicles of Thomas Covenant, The Unbeliever by Stephen R. Donaldson. My absolute favorite fantasy series of all time. I think I read it at the right time, because had I read it as a younger person, I don't think I would have stuck with it. I gave it a go because I was just in such a mood for some kind of deep literature like fantasy, and boy, does it deliver. It is controversial just because there is a sexual assault committed by the protagonist at the end. It is, however, not just there for gratuity. It has a mythological and symbolic purpose. I've done a whole video in it, and I'll probably put it as that little, when the things show up right there while I'm still talking at the end. I'll put it in there if you really want to read it, because it'd be too long a discussion to go through it. But my God, just the opera of that series. 10 books, all of them good, some better than others, of course. The second one was my favorite. Not for everybody. My favorite fantasy series of all time, I just don't generally recommend because it's just not for everybody. But it's well worth it. It just, the drama, just the pure drama of what he goes through and deals with. It's just incredible. That's the one for me. I don't know I can't even pronounce this one. Borko Singan Saga by Lewis McMaster Berjol, never heard of it. Going Postal, The Moten God's Eye by Larry Niven, Jerry Pournelle. I read that one. I understand Niven he wanted it to be called The Moten Archeron's Eye, which is the name of the star where these beings are coming from. But Pournelle and I guess the editor were like, no, we got to go with that title. That's better, and he relented. And I like that title. Modi's coming via a laser sail ship, and that's the moat and that sticks out that they can see in front of the star. The Sword of Truth, Terry Goodkind. See Daniel Green's talk about Terry Goodkind. That dude had a problem, a major ego problem. I almost bought his first book once, but I passed. The Road, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. I Am Legend. Never read this. Again, Will Smith starred in this. That's probably the best acting job he ever did. That's a very good movie. I never read the book. The Rift War Saga, no. The Shannara trilogy. I gave the first book a go, and just didn't hold me, didn't bore, just bored me. 68 Conan the Barbarian series by Robert E. Howard. Oh boy, is it so good. So there's 12 because this fellow Sprague de Camp resurfaced them because while Howard was alive, they didn't become this iconic phenomenon. And so he redid them, brought them via Frank Frazetta for the cover artist, which is probably the primary reason Conan is such an icon, because just the best art ever on books. And but it's the first, I think it's the first 6 books you can get now that are the Robert Howard ones, and after that DeCamp takes over and they're just not as good. I think one of them is particularly horrible, but the rest are actually, I read all of them and enjoyed them. There's one in particular pretty bad, but it's Robert Howard's originals that are they're just so much fun. That's good sword and sorcery. The Farseer trilogy, also called Robin Hobb's Assassin trilogy, Assassin's Apprentice, just outstanding. I thought the third book by the end is just taking too long to get to that end. There's that last scene up in the mountains, and it just, needed to move along. Everything else was going on pretty good, and then it just comes to a really slow halt. But otherwise, despite that, they're just wonderful. I have not read more Robin Hobb, though. Time Traveler's Wife, no. Wife, no. The Way of Kings, Henderson. Dude, again, maybe you could say I liked the first book, so I liked it enough to get the second book. And by the time I finished the second book, I said, if the third book continues like this, I'm done. It's just droning on and on. You gotta move it along. But my understanding is just the nicest person in the world. That's a shame. 72, The Journey to the Center of the Earth. Nope. Legend of Dritz by R.A. Salvatore. Dungeons and Friggin' Dragons. So these are hit and miss. I read a few from his earlier works, and they're decent enough. There's one called Gauntlgrim, and that from there, plus about 6 or 7 books, wonderful. And then, oh boy, it got boring. I read the most recent one, which features the daughter of Dritz. It was decent enough. It just didn't blow me away. I'm not sure if I'll continue though. 74, Old Man's War by John Scalzi. Great author. That one I didn't. It was good. It just didn't, hit me that hard. I really liked. He has a book called The God Engine. This is a novella that I recommend to people. Number 75, The Diamond Age by Neil Stevenson. This takes place in the same world that Snow Crash does, and everybody praises the Diamond Age to high heaven. The book does not match the description that's on the back cover. Here's this VR actress and this young girl who starts, gets attached via her computer to this VR actress, and it's like this, supposed to be this daughter, maybe teacher or student type thing, and then within a couple of chapters that goes away, and this dude who did something dishonorable at work goes on this long, horrible journey of punishment, getting buggered and drugged out of his mind, and I'm like, what the hell am I reading? This isn't what's advertised. What is this junk? It was junk. Don't know what happened. Yeah. Rendezvous with Rama by Arthur C. Clarke. I really enjoyed that book and series. Gentry, a fellow by Gentry Lee, takes over from book 2 on, and you can tell the difference. Rendezvous with Rama is very much like the cliche of science fiction, that it's more ideas than characters. Gentry Lee actually bumps up the character play and continues on with the ideas. My only grievance is that at the end, why? It's just this vague reference to some god, when instead of trying something with why aliens would send these colony-sized ships in hard science fiction, it wasn't that satisfying. For the lead character, it's a satisfying end, but not the story as a whole. The Kushiel's Legacy series, but this is Kushiel's Dart. I guess if you like BDSM, that's the series for you. She's supposed to wind up being some kind of spy type deal, but it gets to that she has some special talent that she gets pleasure from pleasure, but she also gets pleasure from bad things being done to her. And I get to the first scene, and she's basically just getting beaten up and thrown around a room. I'm like, I don't know, not interested. The Dispossessed, I have not read. Something Wicked This Way Comes. Nope. Wicked by Gregory Maguire, number 80. So that's Wicked Witch of the West. Her story, great book. I have one small problem with it. She's just she's got this thing that nobody else has, where she has green skin, and she's not a witch. She's just a student. That's it. I was looking for her delving into magic. She don't do that. And then, of course, Dorothy shows up. It's wonderful. The Dorothy scenes are incredible. She's an idiot. It was beautiful. I loved it. The Malazan books. So I gave Gardens of the Moon a go. And like many people, I fell victim to, what is this supposed to be about? Because it just gives you these little pieces. And you're like, what's going on? And I gave up. Not that it was bad. I might give it a go one day. It just needed to get there, and it just didn't start off well enough for me. The Ear Affair, don't know what that is. 83, The Culture Series by Ian M. Banks. So if you want to get into these, first of all, you don't have to read them in any order. They do have a timeline. Doesn't matter. You can read them in any order. The last 3 or 4, I think, were his best. Matter, Surface Detail. What you could do is read, you can just Google it. It's called A Few Notes on the Culture. And it gives you a rundown of the technology and the abilities of the civilization. These super intelligent AI minds run things. We're thought of as pets, but we're also used as tools. There's this special circumstances, basically the CIA of their civilization, that pokes their nose in and tries to spread what is essentially ultimate liberalism throughout the galaxy. They're amazing books, great books. That's in a place you want to live. I think. And again, any order will do. You can just pick one. Especially the later ones, I think, were his best. But read a few notes on the culture first. The earlier books, if I'm not mistaken, actually have the stuff of a few notes about the culture in them as you're reading them. But I don't think that happened in the later books. So read that first, get your toes wet, and then you can dive in. It's good. 84, The Crystal Cave, never did read it. Natham, never read. Codex Alera series, nope. Book of the New Sun, I think I tried that, and the first book was kind of boring. I didn't finish it. 88, The Thrawn Trilogy by Timothy Zahn, Star Wars. So the original trilogy had come and gone, and Star Wars just went away from our lives for a while. Then in the early 90s, the Thrawn Trilogy. This was Star Wars coming back. Ugh. I did not like those books at all. Had a couple little fun ideas in them. I did not like those books. I hate saying that too, because again, Timothy Zahn, one of the nicest people ever. That's a good person. Just didn't do it for me. Here's Luke Skywalker. After this, he goes in to do battle with the two most powerful beings in the galaxy. One of which is his father, lives to tell the tale, saves the day. And then 5 years later, they're on the run on some space station or something. And Han says, Luke, could you use the Force to move this thing to block that door? Oh no, Luke couldn't do it. He wasn't sure because on Dagobah, he couldn't get the X-Wing onto the thing. He was so what are you talking about? The dude's loaded with confidence. He couldn't do that. That is an author, I think, saying, I got to bring that under control because I can't deal with Superman. That same year, the comic book series called Dark Empire comes out. There's a battle on a planet. Everybody's on the run. Luke walks out, uses the Force. First, the AT-AT, the walkers, took a shot at him and he deflected it. And then he used the Force to knock it over. That's friggin' better. Great comic series, 6 issues. There's a Dark Empire 2. Yeah, don't worry about that. Just get the first one, Dark Empire. That's way better than this stuff. Did not like the Thrawn trilogy. Although I thought Thrawn was an interesting character. And I was glad he came up in the Ahsoka TV show. The Outlander series, nope. The Elric saga, Michael Moorcock. Ooh, that's good stuff. One of the greatest things, coolest things I ever saw was he had gotten rid of the sword Stormbreaker. He had separated from it. But he needed it. There was this naval battle that he was losing. And he summoned it. It's a demon sword. And it brought 1 million of its best friends and just tore through everything. If you're a D&D person, you know about how much damage a sword can do. It's like a nuclear weapon. He summoned it to destroy his enemies. Great series. 91, The Illustrated Man by Ray Bradbury. This was a big level up book for me. And this is in the early 90s. I had written a short story in high school, which, by the way, I updated and published it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble as an ebook, The Follower by Monty Atkins Jr. You can get it all for link. But I wrote it for a class, and the teacher said, this reminded me of Ray Bradbury's The City. All right, I didn't know what that was until I found that book and saw it in there. I'm like, oh, I read that story. It's my favorite story in the series. I'm like, I get it. I do see that similarity. Loved it. This leveled me up, and I saw more science fiction short stories, then eventually into novels, and became the voracious reader that I am. Sunshine by Robin McKenna. Fire Upon the Deep, I don't think I read that. The Caves of Steel, nope. Mars Trilogy by Kim Stanley Robinson. I think I wound up not finishing the first book because I was in the Navy at the time and I had a scheduling problem. I just couldn't find the time to read. Lucifer's Hammer, nope. Doomsday Book, nope. Perdido Street Station by China Miéville. That is one of the best books I've ever read. I read it last year. Page churning chonker. Great steampunk. It's beautiful. I have not continued the series. I might, but just I could not put that one down. That was an outstanding book. That was a great year last year. 99, the Zant series by Pierce Anthony. So I've always heard about the controversy here that is big sexism in these books. I had a girlfriend who loved these books, and apparently there are a lot of women who just love the Zant series despite all this sexism about them. So I read the first one, A Spell for Chameleon. Now, there is a joke character in there, this woman who her form and her powers change into 3 different people over the course of the month, depending on her. It's depends on her period. It's funny. But maybe he could have gotten away with that. But the problem is, there's this trial that concerned a sexual assault, and they were using 3 men and 3 women, and you don't know who's, the idea being there is one guy who's accused, but you don't know which one it was, and the women is the accuser, but you don't know which it was, and they play trial to try to not damage the reputation of either. And the only thing I could surmise about this was, how about you women just shut up, is what seemed to be the result of this trial. I'm like, what in the hell is this in here for? That's awful. And so only having read the first one is just not good, so I didn't go on. The Space Trilogy by C.S. Lewis. No, I've only ever read Narnia by him. Hold on a second. I'm going to disappear for a second. I'm still here. Here we go. I'm still reading. So that's the whole list. That's the 100. If you want, make your own video. Leave comments in the comment section. Talk about what you heard. I'm still reading this. This will be my next video. Come out probably Monday like usual. I have to say, this is outstanding reading. I think if you like The Fifth Element and you like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, not that this is that outlandish, you'll probably like this. So good book so far. That's it. Just wanted to do this. Saw it this morning and said, oh, I can talk about this little extra video for you. Thank you very much, though. That's it. Bye-bye. See you next time.